I'm just, again, flabbergasted that you would support stopping research on mRNA vaccines because there were some adverse events.
No.
I mean, there's an adverse event from the Aleve I took this morning for my bad knee.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that we don't do continued research in nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and it doesn't mean that I don't continue to take them. Because the risk-benefit ratio clearly favors the benefit. There's been multiple studies of research since the COVID pandemic showing the risk-benefit ratio, for example, for pregnant women, favors taking the immunization. So I'll go back to, how do you defend not doing research on mRNA vaccines going forward?
Well, moving forward, I would love to do more research on mRNA vaccines. If we're looking at—
But I'm talking about as to develop another vaccine, because CDC and NIH are the ones that do the type of research you were describing, the kind of retrospective, okay, let's do a longitudinal follow-up. This is, again, directly in your bailiwick.
It is, absolutely.
You would be responsible for, yes, I approve this or I don't approve this. And the fact that you're casting doubt upon it, obviously is concerning.
I'm sorry, Senator Kent. I don't believe I am casting doubt. I want research. I want a better mRNA platform. But I believe before we proceed, we owe it to those who had issues, not just to those who benefited and did okay. We owe it to everyone to explore how we can make the mRNA platform more viable.
But how do you do that without doing the research? I mean, that's the whole point of research, to determine how to do that more safely.
The COVID-19 mRNA vaccine was the only mRNA platform in human health ever used. It was the first time it was ever used. I think we should be asking questions.
There were circumstances surrounding that. Let me go on. You had mentioned in some place a deleted LinkedIn post about an association in your mind between the birth hepatitis B dose and the increased onset of various things, and then saying that in the countries that had a birth dose, they had the highest rates of hepatitis B. Of course, that was misleading. The reason they started the birth dose is because they had a high rate of hepatitis B being passed from mother to baby. And if you look at the age at which they begin to have hepatitis B immunization at birth, there was no hepatitis B after that. It was the kids who weren't, it was the people who were not vaccinated both that had the burden of disease. So your LinkedIn post was either uninformed or deliberately misleading. But when Murkowski speaks about Alaska, they had endemic hepatitis B in the Alaskan Native population, and it's only with the birth dose that went away. Now, again, if we're talking about restoring trust and either misinformation or, I don't know what you were thinking, why would you repeat those damn lies? Because that destroys trust. And we don't start getting back to where we trust unless people speak the truth. Yeah. I'm sorry to be kind of worked up about this, but I've seen people die from these vaccine-preventable diseases, including hepatitis B, and you're going to be one of the leaders in our response. Yeah. I can respond to that, please.
Senator Cassidy, for 30 years in public health, whether I've been at a university teaching in classes or I was in Trenton, New Jersey with the postal employees post-anthrax exposure, I have promoted vaccines as a public health.
I'm speaking specifically about that LinkedIn post.
The LinkedIn post that was pulled down for multiple reasons. I'm a Gen Xer. My social media skills are not as good as everyone is today, but I saw that it was decisive, that it was actually dividing people, Senator. And I didn't want to divide people as a result of that post. But that post did have a critical aspect. Within that post, Senator Cassidy, I did say that I've always believed that vaccines are the gold standard of public health. Within that same post, and that post that individuals have misrepresented and mischaracterized, that I had tied the infant dose to autism, that's a mischaracterization. I have simply said public health owes it to the people to take a look at why there's been such an increase in autism and allergies. And even though I mentioned it in the same article, I never tied it directly to the infant dose of hepatitis B.
So putting it in the same article, of course, makes a connection. And the critical thing is, and I ask this not to be anything but trying to illuminate. Do you understand the difference between causation and association?
100%, Senator.
So just because there is an increase of something when something begins to get done. I once vaccinated a young lady for hepatitis B. She subsequently got pregnant. There's no biological way in which the immunization caused her pregnancy. That's pretty well established how she got pregnant. And so to establish an association and to imply, because it's in the same article, and I think it would be disingenuous to suggest it wasn't an attempt to imply, the United States began recommending hepatitis B immunizations for infants in '91. Can you guess at which age most children are diagnosed with autism? 5 years old. If you add 5 years to 1991, you'll notice a sharp increase in autism rates around that time. Now, that looks like it's trying to establish a connection.
Senator Cassidy, I again believe in vaccines. I believe in the infant dose of hepatitis B. My children are vaccinated. I believe hepatitis B. I believe vaccines have eradicated smallpox and changed the face of polio. And Senator Cassidy, I know what I've wrote. I know what I did. I believe that autism and allergies in this country have significantly increased. I believe we owe it to the general public to explore and identify why. Vaccines are safe and effective and do not have.
So if you're elected, if you're approved of this job, would you advocate for, changing back to our previous topic, research for the use of the mRNA platform to develop, to see its potential, not to foreordain a conclusion, but to see its potential in fighting future respiratory viruses or any other type of illness for which it could be potentially applied?
Senator Cassidy, if I am confirmed, I will fight for the very best mRNA platform vaccine strategy for all Americans should we face.
That's not the same answer.
I will fight for research, Senator Cassidy, sorry.
Support journalism you trust. Support PBS News. Donate now, or even better, start a monthly contribution today.